Gaffer, just start with last weekend. Does the nature of the late goal and your performance, particularly in the second half, just allow you to maybe draw a line under a difficult couple of weeks and give you something to build on?
Sometimes you look into things too much. Like I say, a difficult couple of weeks, in my eyes, ultimately is one bad result, or two bad results but one bad performance. Because take the Luton game where we lose the game, everything suggests that on a different day you win that game. I can be critical of us when we deserve to be, I suppose, questioned over that. But in those moments that we have in the Luton game, if you take them, it's a different game. The Peterborough game is a different one. So that was my disappointment after Saturday, and the fact that one bad performance can't all of a sudden for 45 minutes make you feel sorry for yourselves. And the first half against Barnsley, we looked body language wise and things like that, a team that's on a horrendous run and not sat where we are and have achieved what we've achieved so far in the season. So that was my disappointment. The second half was miles better, and we were at least deserving of a point based on that performance. So if you want to say we can draw a line under it, you can draw a line under it. I would always suggest that you keep the moments that happen over the course of the season in the back of your mind and draw upon what you had to do to get over those experiences in order to make it better if it does happen again. So I think the line in my eyes was drawn under it when we spoke at half time in the Barnsley game. We got a really good reaction. Like I say, took a point out of the game and moved on.
In terms of Wednesday night into the next round of the Virtue Trophy, it took penalties in the end, but how pleased were you with the performance overall? Because you were the dominating team for large periods.
Yeah, really good performance. We've spoken about, I suppose, a little bit more control, but control not having no purpose to it. So the control that we had directly correlated with the opportunities that we created, the territory we had, the possession we had, turned into chances which unfortunately we didn't take through a culmination of different things. Blocks, a little bit unlucky, he made a couple of decent saves, but thoroughly deserving of going through. Granted, it had to be by penalties, but again, we'll take the positives out of that. 2 brilliant saves from Corey in the shootout, and 4 really good penalties. Fev's aside, which is probably a little bit lucky, but the 3 others stepped up and put theirs away really well. And ultimately, with a good penalty is one that goes in the net. So credit to all 4 of them for that, and we progress and look forward to the next round of that whenever it comes about.
You've spoken before after those cup games when you have made big changes about not being surprised necessarily by the players' performances. Did you get any positive surprises from individuals on Wednesday?
No, I go into those games expecting us to look like us, and a lot of the times that's not being the case. So we spoke before the game and we spoke around training what we wanted it to look like, and like I say, massive credit to the players. It did look like that. We've got, again, opportunities. There were some players that played in the game Saturday. We made quite a few changes, but opportunities for lads coming back in, lads that needed minutes. We are restricted in terms of what we can do because we've got some players coming back from injury but aren't quite ready yet, and that's probably going to be the case over the next couple of weeks. But the performance was really positive, and in many ways, again, the result in those games isn't the be all and end all. Of course, we put a team out and we want to win everything we do. But the performance was, like I say, was really pleasing. And for the pleasing thing for me is players showed what I see that they can do, because they show that on a daily basis. You have to produce that on not just a Saturday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, whenever the game is. And they did that. So it gives us progression first and foremost. It gives us, I wouldn't say problems for this weekend, but it gives us all of a sudden some players that have done well and some really good, I suppose, hope for what might happen when we get everyone back fit, up and running, and available for selection properly, if you like.
Great for Benno to get his goal. It's felt like he's maybe needed that this season, but you then obviously lose him to injury in the second half. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, he's had again. It happened probably I want to say 4 or 5 weeks ago, where just training, he was again on a Friday due to playing the game, just rocked his ankle, not significant, and he was out for a week or so. He's unfortunate. He's obviously gone through, and he's trod on the lad's foot and just rocked his ankle. So it's not we hope not a significant one, but probably the weekend and maybe Tuesday are probably short for him. But we would hope, all things being equal, that he may be back available for the Stevenage game the weekend after. We'll know more in the next sort of 48 hours just to see how it settles, but the signs are pretty good, although disappointing to lose him for any games, because, like you say, I really feel that excuse me, he's needed that goal. I think he's more than deserving of the goal with the situations that he's got himself into, but things, probably surprisingly for everyone, just haven't hit the back of the net, because he's a really natural finisher, and when you compare, I suppose, to the impact that he had at the back end of last season, the real hope would be that he would start this season exactly the same. He's always going to find it difficult because of international duty and being called away with Iceland 21, so it becomes a little bit hit and miss, a little bit sporadic for him in terms of games. But the same things apply for him. We've really bright hopes for him, and think he'll have a big impact on our team. He's off the mark now. Hopefully that'll lead to more opportunities and more goals for him when he gets back in the squad.
And 45 minutes for Teao as well, an impressive 45 minutes. Has he come through that okay?
Yeah, fine. That was, again, I suppose, scripted in terms of him coming off. I think just in a short spell, listen, he's nowhere near fully match fit, if you like. But maybe showed a few signs of what we've missed. Hence why we were gutted when he obviously got injured the last pre-season game against Hull. The combination down that side with his understanding with Mal, and go back to Pinatar, I suppose, in the game that played with him, Mal and Beatty as a little triangle on that side, worked really well for us. We've missed that, so important now that we get him up to speed. We need to be careful. He's been out for a long time, and we'll be selective with the minutes that he has, but we obviously know that he's going to be an important player for us, and we want to make sure he's an important player for the long term, not just the short term. So we'll see where he's at in terms of this weekend. Hopefully involved, but unlikely to start, I'd say, and take things step at a time. Look forward to Doncaster and then Stevenage following that.
You mentioned previously this weekend might be an opportunity to see R2 for the first time. Tell us a bit about him and what you feel he brings to the team, because I guess at this point it'll almost feel like a new signing for you.
Yeah, and probably it's probably the same interview as I said prior to us signing him in terms of what we hope we'd see, because we haven't seen anything. So he's probably one, again, because of the time that he got injured, having just come into the club, especially on the back of his season finishing earlier and him only having international games over the summer. He's been out for a really long time, and he isn't adapted to what our training schedule is. So what do we expect to see? We expect to see a centre back that will be aggressive, dominant in both boxes. Still the last person to score against England, which everyone keeps telling him and he's not telling everybody else. But one that will be comfortable enough to get on the ball and play out for us and serve and start attacks. But ultimately wants to defend. That's what we all want to see. But we need to be really careful with him, which we will be. I suppose what does help in this moment is that we have centre-halves that are fit in Carl, in Joseph, in Ethan. We've others that can do jobs there. With him and Brad Hills coming back at pretty much the same time, we know that Brad is up to speed in terms of how the game in this country is and how our game is, and is robust to do that. So having them both back at the same time, I think will certainly help our planning with Arsu, because we don't have to force anything. We're not sort of desperate. So hopefully that'll work nicely. but quite evidently we want to get him back in it, or back involved, not back in, or involved as quickly as possible in order for him to experience a little bit what Teao did and make his debut and play in front of our supporters, as much for him to see them and them to see him really, and show what all the reasons why we brought him. He made a big decision to come here. At the moment, things haven't worked out as we would all have hoped. That doesn't mean that we're not really positive about what he will bring when he does get in the team.
You obviously have a big game in the league on Tuesday away at Doncaster. That presumably ultimately is the priority between the two, but you do have a great opportunity here to reach the third round again. You had a taste of that last season. Can we expect many changes in terms of team selection?
Many changes from Wednesday.
Saturday,
From Saturday. We'll pick a team to win the game. We won't risk anybody, and we're still limited around what we can do. So we need to make decisions. There'll be players within us picking a team on Saturday that if we play them they do start the game on Saturday, then they're probably going to be unable to start the game on Tuesday, or we significantly increase their risk. So we've got to make some decisions around that. That doesn't mean that we won't be putting a team out that we don't think can win the game. I think the positives come out of Wednesday around what that looks like, and it's another cup competition that we want to progress in. I suppose the prize for this competition compared to Wednesday is greater in numerous ways, around the size of the competition, the exposure the FA Cup brings, the prize money and the opportunity of a third round draw, as we were last year against a Premier League team. So all them things, I suppose, contribute to making it a game that we really want to win. But we understand Cambridge will be in exactly the same boat. We're all fighting for the same prize. So we'll be strong, but we won't be risking anybody. And even within that, have we got an eye on Tuesday? We have to have an eye on Tuesday with certain players. But ultimately, our main aim is to win the game on Saturday, and we'll pick a team that hopefully can try and do that.
You came up against Cambridge twice last season, of course. Neil Harris, very adept at making his teams hard to beat. They're on a good run at the minute. You're obviously the favourites, but you're expecting a big test at the weekend. Yeah,
of course we are. Like I say, because the prize is a big one. So we know what to expect. They've changed a little bit. I think their squad is a strong enough one to absolutely compete at the top end of League Two. Not much different than the squad that was involved in League One last year. Slight tweaks, but we know from the first game that Neil had, in terms of going back there and losing the game at the back end of last season at their place, that were the threats that they pose. So we'll absolutely respect that, but again, try and focus on our performance in terms of what we need to do in order to cause them problems. They'll be doing exactly the same thing. They'll be looking at us and going, we have threats here or there or there. That's where our strengths are. But on the flip side of it, looking where they think they can hurt us. So we've got to, like I say, contend with both of those things, but ultimately try and perform and progress to the draw whenever that might be.
Appreciate your time, Dave. Thank you.
Welcome. Cheers. Thank you.